Good morning, folks, and welcome to FYI. We are happy that each and every one of you are here with us this morning, and we're happy to be back on familiar grounds as well, and be back with you guys. Good to have each and every one of you on the live. It's a late morning here, but we're covering a lot of things. But one thing in particular, but a lot of aspects of that one thing, and I'm certain you probably know where we're heading this morning. Good to see each and every one of you on the live. Why don't we start here? Good morning, BHS. Good morning, Dolly Anderson and Vashti Magnot. Chef Tony, good morning to you as well. Debbie Collins, good morning to you. And all the other folks who are joining us, a great morning to each and every one of you. Wherever you're joining us from this morning, a good morning to you. Good morning back to you, BHS, and all the guys who are joining us, whether you're joining us on the tube. We're so happy for all our tubers. Ensure you subscribe to our channel there on YouTube, folks. We're so happy for all the folks who are joining us via Twitter as well, and all of the folks who've been joining us via LinkedIn and all the other places. A very good morning to each and every one of you. We just want to make sure that we are shared to all the right places, and we encourage you guys to do the same as well. Share the live, you know how we say it, smash that emoji button. Good, folks, we got a lot of ground to cover, but good to see you. Hope the weekend was kind to you. The weekend was kind to me. Happy belated Father's Day to all of those persons. I'm eyeing it, hoping to capitalize. So all the men out there, all the fathers out there, we trust that you guys are well and you had a good day and you were treated well. You know, it's not all, we don't get equal treatment, you know. On these international days, we don't get the same treatment. Mother's Day is a big lavish spread, you know, and the expectations are very high. Lynn Fernandez, Leonard Jacobs, Dr. Ewart Hakeem, Benjamin, you know, Juliet, and all the other folks. There's different treatments on these international days, different strokes for different folks. We ain't complaining. We're not complaining, folks. We're just pointing out what is. That's all we're doing. We are pointing out, folks, what is. We're good to have each and every one of you on that side. Great to see you guys this morning. I hope your week is after a running start, a fantastic start. We got to hit the ground running, folks. It's a new week. A lot of things to accomplish this week. We hope that you guys are that much closer to your hopes and dreams and aspirations. We hope that you guys are off to a running start this morning. You had your little bread, your porridge, your little plantain, you know, your little fry bake, you know, pliti, well, the many other names we call it. The only good on the road this morning. The many other names we call it, folks. We hope that you guys have something in your stomach. And you guys are going to be off to a running start this morning. Lots to do this week. We got 5 days ahead of us, folks. Let's make it count. Let's make it count. And then into another weekend. And then July watching us. The kids are out of school. You got more trouble at home. They're out of the daycare. More trouble on your hand. Long summer ahead of us. And we look like we got quite a few issues to cover. Sandra Holler, we see you there. Brenda Moore, we see you. Sasha Trim, we see you as well. Sasha. Good to have you, Sandra Baptiste. All the Sandras on the live this morning. Good to have you folks on the live. Orvin Don Cook, good to see you as well. Great to have you. Brenda Moore and all the other guys who are joining us. All our folks in Linden who were so kind to us over the last few days. We were there in Linden. Good morning to you folks, Region 10 and the whole. Good morning to each and every one of you in Linden and all the other sub-regions. Good to have you, Paula Jones and Sharon Castro. Edwards, Claire Capel is here as well. Good to see each and every one of you guys. We trust that you're good. Seymour George. It's all well with you, Seymour George. Good to have you folks on the live. You all know how we say it. Good to have you all on the live. Wherever you're joining us from this morning, we're happy and delighted. What are you all having? I got a cup of black coffee here, folks. A cup of black coffee. Yep. Good to have you, Paulette Graves and Orvin Don. Kurt Heidecken, we see you on the live as well. Good to have you, Kurt. And Isabella is here too. Somewhere I see Beatrice saying morning, Isabella. So Isabella is here somewhere. Orvin Don. Shannon Edwards is here. Mala Pandey. Good to have you, Mala. Good job. Good run, Mala, for constituency 1 here in Georgetown. Good job, Marla. Good run. Of course, we can always do better. We're trying to tie up local government elections locally in Guyana, folks. They're trying to tie up that. And of course, every candidate, and I decide, I'm certain, I could have done much better had I put in some more work. You know, I could have done much better. Basil, be see you there. Gail Alicock, good to have you guys. Brandy Anderson, good to see you as well, Brandy. Great to have you. Good to have Brian Lewis with us too. Brian, how you doing? Good morning, Brian. Sharon McPherson has joined us too. Patricia Fraser, Debout, Rena Cummins. Good to see you folks. There's a protest action at 12 o'clock today outside the Ministry of Local Government. That's some of what we're talking about this morning, folks. That's some of the ground we got to cover this morning. And, usually we talk about some of what we're covering in the morning paper, some of the headlines of what we're covering internationally, in the region, Latin America and the Caribbean, and then we circle back in the 592, some additional information on what we're covering in Guyana. But this morning, we talk about one issue, and one issue alone has been dominating the social media sphere. And as you've seen, and you shall see shortly, some of what has been dominating folks also, the headlines dominating the front pages of the paper. It's a Darmlal rape scandal. That's what we're covering, and we're going to let you guys know what we have up to this hour. And today is promising to be a fast-moving day. You see a lot of things happening during the course of the day. A lot of headlines going to be coming your way, but we want to give you guys a sense of what we know some 72 hours later, as this whole issue begun to cascade. And in the center of that is this 15, now 16-year-old who alleges that she was raped by the Minister of Local Government and Regional Development, Mr. Nigel Darmlal. No stranger to controversy, no stranger to controversy. We've had the infamous dildo issue at the height of the National Assembly, the highest legislative body in our country, folks, the Parliament. Coming from there, and then we've had of a similar nature several of these rape incidences, the allegation that is several of them over the course of the last year and a half, 2 years, and things may be coming to a head now. I mean, like, how much could one administration take? How much? And even on this particular issue, as you will see and hear, there have been several fumbles along the way, and so we can be telling you guys about some of the things we know thus far. This story kind of broke about Wednesday of last week into Thursday, and then begun to kind of pick up some steam and some pace over the last 72 hours. It's a lot to go through. It's a lot to cover. And so this is what we're going to be talking about predominantly this morning, and I hope that you guys will weigh in your comments. I'm seeing some of them, some of you guys, some of the comments, rather is what I wanted to say. Some of the comments you guys are already putting in there. It's a lot to get through. It's a lot to get through, but we hope that you guys have had a good weekend, and we hope that we can we hoped rather that we can start your week off on a lighter note. But this is what it is, not of our own making. This is what it is, and these folks got somebody on their hands they got to deal with here. They got to deal with this because there seem to be a MO, if you want to call it that. Right? It's a particular ethnicity and a kind of victim we keep seeing repeatedly. Why is that? Right? Well, they probably went up the wrong tree now. We got up the wrong tree. Folks, we're good to see Roderick Harry joining us, and Dolly and Marilyn Forrester, Roderick, and all the other folks who are joining us this morning, and kind of keeping pace a little bit for some of you, because we ain't going over nothing. There's one walk through what we have at this hour, folks. And it's quite a bit to get through this morning. We're talking, if you're now joining us, we're talking about the Darmlal rape scandal. Folks, share the live, smash that emoji button for us. We're looking a little thin with emojis because we want as many folks to get valid, credible information. And we say these things and encourage you in this way because it helps in the algorithm, and it comes into more news feeds as Facebook and all of that, the behind the scenes stuff, sees the huge activity in our pages. It gets into more places, and folks can get a sense of valid, credible information. And I know we have some folks here from all sides of the political divide, social divide, religious, in other words, but I saw a lot of folks kept holding out hope that this story wasn't true. Yep. Some of you quite like Irfan Ali came out swinging in the favor of Darmlal. Oh, with the evidence. I could hear some of you in your Clinton Erling voice. Show me the evidence. No evidence, box some of you across your face. You won't even recognize it then. Show me the evidence. Well, again, and we'll get to some of this during our broadcast. There has been, again, some very, very strong, serious accusations here of rape. And we haven't seen any denial. Again, some 72, if not more, hours later since this whole story broke. That's one of the things we're going to be looking at this morning. So, folks, if you're now joining us, we're talking about the Darmlal rape scandal. That's what we're touching on this morning. And the headlines, folks, the headlines tell their own story. This was the Saturday Kaito News. Indigenous girl 16 details alleged gruesome rape and sodomy by government minister. We now know that person is Nigel Darmlal. Again, folks, it's not the first time. It's not the first time at all that this is happening. And this young lady in explicit details walked us through what has happened over a 3-month period. She said in her own words that she was groomed and she was raped. That's what she alleges. Right? That is what she alleges. And in this letter that initially started making the rounds on social media, she started by saying, dear Mr. President, dear Irfan Ali, dear President Ali. Again, the headlines tell their own story. So we know that she was 15 at the time when she first came into interaction with the minister. That's what she said. And at the time she alleges that she was raped, she had turned 16. She was 15 when they first met. And 3 months later, she said she was brutally, savagely raped. That's what she's alleging. And she was 16 at that time. And as I said, the letter has been making the rounds on social media. What she has had to say, making the rounds on social media. And it isn't nice, as a lot of these issues are. There's a lot to get through. Sometimes you started reading the letter, you have to put it down and kind of compose yourself and then come back to it again. All right? Because it's a lot to get through. And I wanna go through some of that, because even though it is difficult to get through, I think we gotta do it so that people can know that this stuff is real. This isn't fiction that the nation is going through. Right? And she again began by saying, dear President Ali, she's writing to the diplomatic community, the ministers, a lot of who still protecting him, a lot of who came out in the past when several other of these allegations have been made of rape and sexual misconduct, sexual assault. Said absolutely nothing. Some people still quiet, waiting to see where the wind blows before they have a position on the matter. You have a lot to answer to God for. That's why I want you all to know. A lot to answer to God for. Plenty things. Plenty things. So here is some of what this young lady said. Right? I'm skipping through some of the stuff. As soon as we reached the house, he put on his TV. And here she was talking about how she relented after he was coming after her all the time, coming after her and playing nice and sweet. She went with his brother. She was picked up by, she alleges, by the minister. She had her brother with her. She said, as soon as we reached the house, he put on his television loud downstairs and told my brother to watch it, and then took me upstairs, she said. This is what she's alleging. I went with him. I was not thinking, just following whatever he was asking me to do. I just didn't know what he would have done to me. He led me to a bedroom and closed the door. He kissed me immediately, the young lady says. stopped and started unbuttoning his shirt, and I was standing in front of him. Then he came and started kissing me again and tried to take my top off, but his style was a bit complex because I had to untie it from the back, which he told me to do. This is what the 16-year-old young lady from the hinterland is alleging. A sitting minister of the People's Progressive Party civic government did to her. She goes on to say he pulled my pants down because it was a soft pants, and he had no difficulty. I was in my bare underwear, my entire body like it froze, and I was just following orders. Then he got completely undressed, naked, and started kissing me again. That's what she alleges here. Right? And then he goes into some very, very, very gory details. Some very, very gory details. Right? This is my first time, she says. This is what she's alleging. And in her own words, she says, I was in a lot of pain because he was very rough. He never asked me if this is what I wanted. Right? I was in a blur and my mind was blank. I'm 5'3", weighing less than 100 pounds. This man is about 5'7" and weighs over 200 pounds. He was dominating me, in her words. After a while, he said, I want you to turn over. And he sort of rolled me over. And he did continue with the vaginal sex for a short while. Then I left him, then I felt rather, him going for anal. It was paining right away. I told him to stop. I was in so much pain. I was screaming for him to stop. This in her own words, she's alleging. The anal sex was worse than the vaginal. But he didn't stop. He was over me. I couldn't do anything but pierce my nails into his hands while enduring that pain. It was terrible. He told me to shut the F up. She calls the word, she writes the word, and not make noise because my brother will hear. That is part of what she alleges. Another part of this missive, she says that after this whole ordeal, he then called his driver to pick me up. I had to remain calm and civil and act normal because my brother was with me. I asked the driver to take me to the Giftland Mall because I was, since two of my friends were coming from Essequibo, so I asked them to meet me there. I'm sure his driver knew all too well what he does to women. By the way, he looked at me as though he knew what transpired. And then she goes on to say, Nigel never asked me how I was doing, never called me afterwards to even check how I was. It was like nothing happened. Even through all of that, I didn't know what to do, how to react. She goes on to say, I can't even explain how I felt. And that is short of a very, very lengthy statement. That's the short of it, of a very, very lengthy statement that began circulating on Facebook. And if you understand good narratives, that was the initiating event. I think that's what they call it in literature. That's the initiating event that set this whole thing in motion. That began the rungs on social media. It was addressed again to President Ali, his cabinet members, the private sector, who usually has a lot to say on the flimsiest of issues. They say nothing yet. The private sector. And here's a good opportunity for the Ghana Bar Association to weigh into. A good opportunity, folks. I think as a country, we're in unprecedented territory. We're in unprecedented territory. And leaders, even in such circumstances, got to lead. You cannot shirk from your responsibility, you got to lead, because leadership don't change based on the circumstances. You got one set of principles. And that's why you call them principles in the first place, because they're time tested and withstand any circumstance. You got to stand on the side of right. And so a lot of voices have still remained very silent. I remember you had somebody wrote some lyrics, put some music to it. I only shared it on our platform. And my, oh my, the lectures that came from some quarters is with Reverend Pat Sheraton and the Women's Progressive Arm of the PPP and a whole host of other folks. I ain't hear from Sujan Rodriguez. I ain't hear from that other little liar, Onij Waldron, a whole pack of them. Everybody quiet. But this is what the initiating event in which this young lady has some very damning allegations and accusations against the Minister of Local Government and Regional Development, Mr. Nigel Damlal. In gory details, and again, that was the short of it I was going through. It would take the whole hour of our program just to go through all that she said. From the time they met to this horrific, horrendous, repulsive behavior of the minister that she alleges. Horrific, 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 horrific. So that's part of what we're following. And yesterday, I think it was, Culture News again reported that as this issue starts now to gain momentum, villagers where this young lady lives and her family lives reported that Damlal met with her family. That's what they're reporting. Damlal met with her family, and they're saying that money, hush money, meat on the table. That's part of the allegation here. Hush money land on the table. Hush money on the table. And the figure we're hearing is that $10 million was offered. $10 million was offered. Yep. Up to this point, we've had no denial by People's Progressive Party, Minister of Local Government and Regional Development, Nigel Damlal, that this story is not true. No denial thus far. But as this Culture News headline says, residents confirm rape accused Minister Nigel Damlal visited the victim's parents. Visited the victim's parents. Again, for those of you now joining us, this was the, I don't know if you can see this clearly. That was the one of the first headlines we saw. Indigenous girl 16 details how she was raped. And then we have the one that we have up now. And Culture News in its reporting here goes into details about a lot of what was said by see, we got the actual paper here. The residents in this village where she lives. Right? Let me read a paragraph or two. It says here that the government minister, let me put it a little smaller. It says here the government minister accused of raping a 16-year-old girl was reportedly seen in the victim's community shortly after the allegations were published on social media. That's what they're alleging here. And subsequently publicized on social media and subsequently published by the media. Culture News understands that the minister was spotted in the vicinity of a popular shop in the community He reportedly arrived in a black vehicle and was accompanied by another person. A white vehicle also arrived alongside the ministers. So again, Kaiser News doing a lot of work here. Residents told Kaiser News that the black vehicle frequented the community as it was used regularly by regional officials. The publication, Kaiser News, understands that before arriving in the community, the said vehicles were in a nearby community where it is alleged that the victim's parents were met and picked up. The minister went over there and bring the parents over here, and he had police and regional people with him. The police went in. The police went in regular clothes, plain clothes, but were wearing their police shoes, and other residents told the publication. Another victim corroborated the statement and told Kaiser News, right? He come down with the region vehicle, a black fielder wagon, and they went by the named people where the minister and the victim's parents meet up. This is Kaiser News reporting yesterday. And this is where they're telling us that they're alleging that this money was put on the table. $10 million hush money. So that this story can go away from the People's Progressive Party Civic and their Minister of Local Government and Regional Development, Nigel Damlal. So the story could go away. This is Kaiser News reporting that after all of the public furor late last week, Nigel Damlal took it upon himself, that's the allegation, and went into the village there and met with the family himself. And we heard a key aspect of that meeting is putting this $10 million on the table. That's what we're learning. A key aspect of that was putting this $10 million on the table. So that's another thing that we're learning. Because the problem must go away. You remember how the problem with O.C. Rogers, PVP PR man who was here beating up the woman in the back settlement supermarket. Remember how the problem went away? And that's what the PVP believes. If you throw money at it, if you throw money at the problem long enough, it can go away. Scandal after scandal. Abuse of women and girls after abuse. You throw money at it, it's going to go away. And you guys know it's not the first, not the second, not the third allegation involving a PPP personnel. And I've always said here in our programs, it's a study in sociology why people of a certain ilk are attracted to the PPP. Not the WPA, not ANUG, is always in numbers. It's like the worse you are. It said, okay, you can find a home here. You welcome on this side. Like it's the worse you be. And we have said here that this is not, of course, the first allegation involving Damlal where these matters are concerned. It's not the first. So we know this. There was a $10 million offer. And we've learned since then, acceptance. Acceptance. Well, this problem has been getting ahead of them. Irfan Ali came out recently and said he heard about it, but no formal report, clearly out of his depths. I think the sexual offences legislation said, as soon as you hear about one of these incidents, you have a right, you have a duty to report it. You don't got to get evidence. No formal report, has come to him. That's one of the things he said. That they don't have a formal report on the matter. They got a lot of people got a lot of things to answer to God for, you know. And the parents is one. Their whole conduct. I don't know how they get a child with such fortitude. I don't know how they got a child with such fortitude. Because their whole conduct in this affair leaves much to be desired. And then on the heels of that, you see a lot of people might be just big. But in a sense, might be just big. Age is not a sign of maturity, you know. And this alleged victim, this victim, make a lot of big people look like nothing. Make a lot of big people look like nothing. So the president has come under a lot of flack, and rightfully so, for a very callous way in which he seemed to be dealing with this man. He wants evidence. Show me the evidence. Show me the evidence. He hasn't have a formal report as yet. Nobody could read the missive in its entirety that we went through, part of which we went through. And you come up with your skin crawling. You don't come up, but he said he ain't got a formal report yet. He ain't got a formal report yet. So people said it's a very strange approach to a very serious accusation, but it speaks of some of the modus operandi, how these folks operate. He ain't got a report yet. And in this newsroom reporting, I think it's the first publication which quoted him on the issue. He went on to say that as a government, we're committed to having any facts fully investigated. Notice facts. Any facts fully investigated. Not any allegation. Any facts must get the facts first. Fully investigated as we hold dearly our girls and women in every community. That's strange to me. This we hold dear the girls and women, because in the past, and how some of the allegations, we saw O.C. Rogers beating up a young lady in a Bat supermarket. The people buying ticket and fly out. And Ali comes to us and says that he holds dearly our girls, and we says there's not the first allegation, serious allegation against the PPP's Nigel Darmlal. It's not the first allegation, not the second, not the third, not the fourth. So the president's own conduct has come under scrutiny. But he says here in this newsroom report, we will continue to do everything to ensure the safety and well-being of our girls and women. You got to take that one with a pinch of salt. You got to take that one with a pinch of salt. Right? You got to take it with a pinch of salt. You know? And what a time, because yesterday the president, congrats to him, they had a new addition to their family. You know, congrats to him. And what a time to be dealing with this whole issue. I'm certain it is the last thing he wanted to be dealing with. Yesterday of all days, having to come out, and the government now in the uncharted waters of a minister with these damning allegations of rape of a child, a school child from the hinterland. You know, what a day to have to do this balancing act. And you know, we heard some folks saying, if the trust Darmlal so well, let them left the chair with him. If they believe him, congratulations to the First Lady and her husband. Father's Day, they got a new addition. Second child, second son. Congrats to them. But what a day to have to be dealing with these issues. I think it was MP Amanzo Walton Desir that puts into context for us the conduct, of Irfan Ali in this process. The conduct of the president in this process. These aren't easy issues to deal with. And you have to have a certain modus operandi. You see, you have to have a certain modus operandi in which we're going to be dealing with these issues. You have to have a certain modus operandi. Right? So these are the issues we are covering. And again, I said it was Amanzo Walton Desir, Member of Parliament for Shadow Minister for Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, that spoke to the conduct. Several graphics are jumping around. Apologies there. They spoke to the conduct of Nigel Damlal, the conduct of the president, rather, in this whole issue. Spoke to the conduct of the president. And, it leaves a lot to be desired. Take a look. Take a listen. Some of what Amanzo Walton Desir, Member of Parliament, said on the issue.
I saw Irfan Ali, the president. I saw his response to Gordon Mosley, and that triggered me. Minister serves at the pleasure of the president. Nigel Dharamlal serves at the pleasure of Irfan Ali. Irfan Ali has a duty to act. He has a duty to act. I want to focus on the fact that Irfan Ali, as the president of this country, continues to fail our children. Here it is that you have a young lady that has made some damning allegations against Nigel Dharamlal. Now, mind you, everyone who has been following anything in Guyana knows that this is not the first, it's not the second, it's not the third, it's not the fourth, it's not the fifth allegation of this nature that has been made against Nigel Dharamlal. And instead of standing up for the children of Guyana, and instead of requiring that he steps down to facilitate an investigation, Irfan Ali comes to the media and says that he will act when the evidence is presented, failing to understand and recognize that he has a duty to create the circumstances that would make sure that a victim in this situation is comfortable enough to come to speak to these issues. He has to create the enabling environment for victims to be protected. Instead, what you see him doing is doubling down and protecting Nigel Dharamlal. In any functioning democracy, Nigel Dharamlal would have at a minimum been interdicted from duty pending a full and complete investigation. Because everyone understands that for as long as he continues to sit in the office of the minister, he will abuse his position, he will abuse his powers, and he will exert the necessary pressure on that young lady, as we have seen, to sign all kinds of statements. Apart from the fact that you do not need to settle something if there's no truth to the allegations. If Nigel Dharamlal is so true, he must be able to stand and defend himself against such allegations. But you don't see that happening. You see instead a rush, as it were, to pressure the victim and her family, poor people. Now there's a letter out there. We do not know whether this family had the benefit of legal counsel. It does not say. This is not the first time this man has been accused of this. And I'm saying these are allegations, but these are allegations that must be investigated. I lay the blame for this squarely on Irfan Ali's feet because he is being hypocritical. Irfan Ali said on the 20th of November 2020, when he was giving his address on World Children's Day, these were his words, that the safety and protection of our children must be our first priority. What happened to that, Irfan? What happened to those words? Were they just words? You have an opportunity now to demonstrate that you have the moral courage and conviction to stand in the protection of our women and our children, and you are failing. You are failing. It is not passing strange that this is the same minister whom it is alleged it is his dereliction of duty that resulted in what we saw at Madia with those 20 children. That his ministry failed to do what they ought to have done. And this is why, up to now, we cannot have a commission of inquiry into the Madia COI. I'm sorry to be shouting, but as a mother, as a woman, as a member of parliament who has had to sit in the National Assembly and be subjected to the most vile and the most crude insults from Nigel Darmlal, this makes my blood boil. Enough is enough. Nigel Darmlal must go, and Irfan Ali must display that he has the moral conviction to stand in the protection of Guyanese women and children.
Welcome back, folks. So that was MP Amanzo Walton Desir speaking to the issue of the conduct of Irfan Ali and how callously and flippantly they've been treating with this matter. Very callously and very flippantly. Which brings us to the Minister of Education, who said that she initially handed this issue off to the Chief Education Officer when she learned about it. But nonetheless, that she, well, let's start with Vindhya Prasad, based on the information that we have. We learned that the Child Care Protection Agency, which falls under the Ministry of Social Protection, is now looking at this matter, and that they're carrying out a full investigation, according to, I believe this is newsroom reporting on what some of what Vindhya Prasad had said. And again, one of the persons who in the past has had a very hands-off approach to this kind of violence that we've seen too often in our society against our women and girls. And the report out of the newsroom said that they will support will be provided to the young lady. Our women and girls must be safe. No one is above the law. Again, folks, we understand they could talk a good talk, as they have done in the past, but the actions tend to show something quite different. The actions in the past. And on the Ministries of Education behalf, I said initially, the minister's own words, she'd handed this off to somebody else to have a look at because she was busy. And since that time, you know, because again, this issue has picked up a lot of coverage locally. I saw some of it in the region as well, and who knows how far else it might reach. Still, since that time, handing off the issue to somebody else to have a look at, the ministry has managed to locate the victim, and full support was offered to her. The minister said that the young lady chose a date on which she would avail herself of that support. That was and continues to be offered, the support, the minister says. Right? It was and continues to be offered, and that date has not yet been reached up until that time. And you know what it says to me? This young lady, like so many of our young people, and Guyanese in general, he didn't trust none of them. She didn't trust the police to go to them, and she didn't trust none of them to go to them either. She didn't trust none of them. None. They've been condoning such issues for too long. Silent on them. And I've said to you, somebody put music to lyrics. I only published it on my page, in which one of the refrains in that song was, "Praise a wild hog." And if you're demonstrating the capacity by your own actions and inactions, how are you going to vex? How are you going to vex? But the point I want to make there is the amount of organizations that wrote against that. The Progressive Women's Organization, Prime Minister Vindhya herself A whole pack of them. And on this issue, show me the evidence. I didn't write this song. I didn't put music to it. I only publish it. And here they say, oh, show me the evidence. I didn't see a formal report. And that is the hypocrisy and double standard. And you know what? Some of their own folks saying, it's time he goes. It's only they sit down, you know, having a look and see approach. Having a look and see approach. You know, former journalist and social media commentator, Leon Susteran, wait until this matter. He says, but time he goes. High time he goes. Render them quiet. You see? High time he goes. Onich quiet. Rodriguez quiet. Parag quiet. Such quietude. Right? And it's only sometimes Jacques Dieu's run out. I like this, he left here by himself. You deal with it. Because you know you don't have the moral authority. Vashti Jacques Dieu in similar fashion articulated in a lengthy statement the trials and travails her husband when he was the president, Bar Jacques Dieu, put us through. And folks, lest we forget, they're telling us today is the year anniversary of the Sugate scandal with Mr. Jacques Dieu. Today marks a year. Scandal after scandal. That's the country we have now. Management by scandals. Scandal after, it's 1 year since Sugate. Today, that's what the folks telling us. Sugate, when we saw Jacques Dieu in the living room, ready to make a deal with Sue, who handles all the agreements, who has all the support. Yep, 1 year since, and we right there again. Another scandal of the PPP facing this nation. This time the Darmlal rape scandal. And a very timid and tepid approach from people who should know better. Women who should be the first in defense against the continued perpetuation of violence against our women and girls. But have a wait-see approach. This is what journalist and social media commentator Leon Susteran said of this issue on social media.
So if an Ali government wants to keep this person on and have this baggage, that's on them. But I read the statement of the girl's statement. It's very disturbing. Now we've had this discussion about a year ago, this same discussion here, and he said that he's not going to tolerate such in his government and that the person should make a police report. Well, I apparently the girl took some lawyers and was willing to press charges, file criminal charges. However, I was told that one of her lawyers squealed to the ministers, a couple female ministers, who called the girl in with an education officer and arranged a meeting with the minister in question. And then he offered the girl's family, went down on knees and so on, I was told, and paid them $10 million. That's what I was told. So now the matter is hanging. Now we don't know where it's going to go unless this opposition. That's why we need a stronger opposition. We need a stronger opposition to pursue these things. This thing should have been dealt with over a year ago. Opposition is so weak, and it's now on their onus to pursue this matter and to seek justice and to prevent these instances. This is a new instance. This happened in last December now. During this Christmas time, Amerindian Affairs Ministry toy drive and all of that, that's when the encounters happened. And this individual has a dark side and does not belong in government. We all have our dark sides. We all have our vices with us, about us, but we should not hold government. We should not hold an esteemed office when we have these inclinations to want to have such relationships with people and young people and all of that, scandals. This is coming from me living here in the diaspora. That's just my thought. I'm not for any party, mind you. But it really disturbed me last year when another person reached out to me and said that they were one of his victims. And then now this girl here, about a year later, I spoke to a minister last year about it, and they knew who I was talking about without even saying it. People in the party knows what kind of person he is. Yes, this person is, right. People in the party know. But I'm saying again, this person does not belong in the realms of government. They should be removed. They should step aside, because their vice will allow them to do it again. The integrity of the government is at stake. I know the Irfan Ali administration does not want this on their head for 2025. They don't want to deal with this head on. So they might find some ways to deal with it underhandedly and amicably with the girl's family. Seems like that's the way it went based on what I was told. But guys, if I see any one of you post selfies with this individuals when he comes to New York or even in Guyana, I think I'm gonna block y'all, because I can't tolerate this kind of nonsense, this kind of behavior from government officials. As I said, we're all human beings, right? We all have our needs. We all have our we're sexual humans. We all have our sexual needs and wants and desires. Sometimes it takes a turn for the worse and becomes very dark, as I believe this individual is. And it becomes an addiction, a vice. And so it's when it becomes like that, no, you can't be in government anymore. You have to relinquish your position, and because you're going to be traveling the country, you're going to be interacting with people, girl children, and maybe boy children too, because he seemed to have a penchant for backdoor Santa Claus. But they need to bell the cat. The opposition needs to be stronger, and I am so disappointed. I have no faith at all in this opposition from the leader down. So that's my take on it. I'm a very neutral person. I call it as it is. The opposition is weak, but the government has to do something as well with this individual. I hope and pray that his colleagues talk some sense into him. You cannot do this and hold government and hold power. You cannot. I'm not sure that's just going to happen this time around again. It's going to be swept again under. He's going to continue in the position. More is going to happen. And the opposition, in its weakness, will not be able to do a thing.
Yeah, that is Leon Susteran. He said he has a penchant for backdoor Santa Claus. Sitting government minister. Let me get rid of the amicable resolution. It's the opposition fault. But let me get rid of it. It's not them. And being a safe harbor for the folks of this ilk. Right? You got your vices and so on. For the folks of the darkest vices we've ever seen. It's not their fault, it's the opposition. If the opposition is only stronger, we could choose better people for the PPP. If the opposition only stronger, maybe we can get the Minister of Indigenous Affairs, the Minister of Amerindian Affairs to be vocal. If the opposition, the only stronger, we could make Pauline Sukai do show work. Right? Karasabai, Pauline, and say nothing. Madia, come and happen, 20 dead, she didn't say nothing. Minister of Amerindian Affairs, an Amerindian young lady, 15, 16, alleges brutal rape, Pauline missing in action. Pauline gone AWOL. Absent without leave. Mum's the word. This is the whole Millicent ministry dedicated to Amerindian affairs, indigenous affairs. The minister says nothing. Nothing at all. Absolutely nothing. Zilch, zero, nada. Nothing at all. Right? Some people got a lot to answer to Father for. A lot. A lot. A lot. Including some senior police. Because then don't think we didn't see this letter that appeared in which the young lady is reported to have said that the whole thing is untrue. She never tell nobody this, and she ain't know nothing but this whole story. Serious senior policeman signed off and said, yes, I was there when she said that she ain't know nothing. The whole thing is untrue. Senior policeman, one Mr. Let me get the name right. Kemrat Subaran, a superintendent of police. Right? He signed saying, I, Kemrat Subaran, superintendent of police, hereby certify, right, that this statement that was taken is true. Right? This was taken in Region 2. The girl came to the station and she made a statement that all that she'd been seeing on social media and this letter, they are untruths. Well, events seem to have overtaken that. This statement, but what has happened to a man like Kemrat Subaran? This only an investigation only at the CHMPA level, at the child protection level, you know. This needs its own COI. Senior policeman said this girl come in the station and she said the thing she's seeing on social media attributed to her is not so. When we come in, we're going to circle back to this. The Alliance for Change on Saturday had its program, Alliance on the Move. And on that program, leader of the Alliance for Change, Mr. Kemrat Ramjatan, you had also the vice chairman of the Alliance for Change, Ricky Dionarayan Ramsarup, and the deputy general secretary of the Alliance for Change, Rita Finance, weighing in on this issue. And this whole issue with this senior policeman came up. I tell a lot of people got some things to answer to God for you. In this whole story, a lot of folks, and should not be only answered to God, the people of this country need answers to. How this young woman arrived at this station? She just walked up the road and said, I want to make a statement. What were the factors and the circumstances surrounding this statement here? See, some parents got a lot to answer for, you know. Some government officials got a lot to answer for. Folks, I want to let you know there's a protest today in front of the Ministry of Local Government down there in Kingston at 12 o'clock. You feel, you know, about this issue, right, strongly, you better go down there and show your support. If you feel strongly about this issue, right, you better go down there for support. I'm told that the minister has hired a law firm to represent his interests. That's what we're being told. That the minister has hired a law firm to represent his interests. Here's some of what the Alliance for Change said recently on their program Alliance for the Move concerning this issue and this letter signed by Kemrat Subaran, Superintendent of Police. Here's some of what they said.
can allow me to just segue into,
Go ahead,
into
go
the
ahead.
major issue of today. One of the
Make a point.
major ethnicities that we have right about now being among the have-nots is the indigenous communities within Guyana,
Absolutely.
and they are there. And I can say that the PPP have gone into those communities, and they have used those communities and those people as political football. They have promised them the moon and the stars, and they have not delivered. And as we're seeing today, as the headlines in the newspapers are dominating right now, even to the worst that we have ever seen, that we are seeing allegations of the most vile sexual assault by a sitting government minister. And we are yet to hear any firm condemnation, at the very least, coming forward from the People's Progressive Party. I have noted two statements that I have read, not even two statements, I'll have to say one from the Minister of Education and then a little snap of a post by Vidya Prasad, both unacceptable. I have not seen any level of pure condemnation of such an act. It is yet to be seen. I have heard the flip-flopping of the comments that is coming from none other than Irfan Ali on the matter, waiting for evidence to be presented and all of those matters. This is something that we cannot sweep under the carpet. And I have to say, when it comes to this particular issue, I have been speaking to some folks and I said, this transcends political boundaries to me. And I feel very personal about the issue. And I can tell you, Ricky, this is not something I've been speaking for now. At the level of the National Assembly, when we had Minister Nigel Darvalla, the allegations are being made against right now. When we had him made that comment to a member of parliament, a female member of parliament in the opposition, that she needs a dildo, when that comment was made, I spoke out and I said, if at the level of the National Assembly, he is so empowered and emboldened to make such statements to a sitting member of parliament, this is not at the corner at no rum shop. This at the level of the National Assembly, on the floor he was standing when those comments were. I said, if that is what he's doing, I can only imagine what he is doing when it comes to our indigenous sisters. I made those comments since then. I could go pull it up right now on my social media page and all of that. We have been receiving so many complaints since this story went out, and everybody have been receiving tons of different comments coming in. I've been scrolling social media. There's so many other young women that is saying, you know, if they're to speak about what they experience at his hands and all of those things, we need not just a thorough investigation, we need him removed from that seat while an investigation is being had. Because no way you can tell me you're investigating this man whilst he is patrolling the country on taxpayers' dollars, being cloaked by government power. That does not make any sense to me.
Cameron,
And
you
by
want to chip
no
in?
way, and Enrique, I have to add this, by no way can I accept that the Ministry of Education is spearheading any investigation into this matter. That is the colleague of the ministers. They sit at the level of cabinet together.
Absolutely,
How
absolutely.
going to investigate matters of such? How then is that investigation going to be any bit unbiased? I want to say, and I want to make a call particularly to all the other indigenous girls that would have suffered at the hands of this individual to come forward and that unite your voices in this cause. You are not alone. I think this is the message. You are not alone with what happened. We have a young lady that has spoken up, and she has been so brave, you know, and I'm tremendously proud of her. I do note, and I'm going to say this, I do know that there's a paper circulating that is alleged to be some statement that she made. I think a superintendent's signature also attached to that. You know, I'm unfazed by that. The details in the allegations, it was damning. The evidence, the supporting screenshots and all of those things that were put forward is not something we can just tuck aside and say, well, oh, there's this piece of documentation. I'm yet to learn of any legal counsel that was by her side and all of those things. We cannot be making the mistakes that we have made time and time again. When allegations of such nature come forward, we have to make the decision. The president have to make the decision that you are going to send your minister off on administrative leave at the very least while an investigation is being had. And I have not seen that. I cannot accept anything less than that. It is too much. How dare the PPP ministers be emboldened to go into indigenous communities when they have exposed indigenous women to such vile acts? We have to be questioning these things at all times. And again, I must say, this is not political for me, because I can tell you, like, my father's indigenous. I come from an indigenous background. So when it comes to the fact that indigenous women are among the most vulnerable in society, I feel very strongly about this matter. Indigenous women are very slow to speak up for themselves, in many cases very quiet, humble individuals. And how dare anyone believe that because that is their personality, that they can go into their communities, they can prey on them, they can target them, and they can abuse their power, particularly the power that they have as a sitting government minister. Traveling to these villages on taxpayers' dollars, I demand an investigation, and I demand that that minister be sent at least on administrative leave while that investigation is being done. And once proven, he should be jailed.
Thank you very much, Rita.
Jailed.
Thank you very much, Rita, and I really, really appreciate that you brought this up and you expressed deeply your concern, and the value of that concern that you have will bring some sort of satisfaction. And I'm happy that you mentioned that the victim, that we are there at all times, open for them to be heard. Cameron, you want to make a point, and I want
to make
else.
a lot of points here,
Yeah.
Ricky. I mean, this fella has had other instances prior to this one in which he has done a lot of mannishness, not necessarily right up to this rape and all kind of thing, allegations of rape. But, you know, some IDB officials, when I was a minister, this fella, I think it was his wife or former wife, was seen with the IDB official, and he pulled out the gun for the man. Nigel Dalarm Lao, Silal and Prasad did an investigation and so on. And you know, the man the IDB officials were so scared, he left the country. Next morning, gone. If you didn't know, in today's Kaichor News, there is a massive report that shows the statement of a girl, indigenous 14-year-old or 13-year-old, who was brutally sexually exploited by, as she alleged, this government minister that we got. This minister has all of a sudden, notwithstanding this thing big in the press and all of that, he has remained silent. Not one utterance has he made. Generally, you tell me when you said that this man do something wrong, and when you go and point out to the policeman, and the police not getting a statement from him, or nobody getting statement from him, what do you think? The suspicions get even greater.
Worse. Correct.
And worse. And he has remained silent. And now, more than that, there have been some deficiencies in certain institutional work that was supposed to be done when you're so young. You're supposed to go to the cops immediately to get the statement and so on. That was not done by the various ministries, whether it is public security, social service, or education itself. And we now see that, as far as I am concerned, a whole lot of attempts being made by certain government friends of that senior official, minister, trying to pay off the girl. That is terrible. That is so terrible. Although there might be questions surrounding what kind of investigation we must now have, we must certainly have a criminal investigation. It is one big cover-up they want here. There is nothing else but cover-up in my mind, and it is from a superintendent of police. He went to the girl and he get the girl to say that is not true and whatever. As a senior superintendent or a superintendent, he should know that is obviously not how you deal with that matter. You got to bring in social service protection. You got to bring in counselors and so on to talk, because that is what you got to do in these situations. And that same pre-Manik Chan had passed a Sexual Offences Act, very, very modern, to take care of these situations too. I am glad at least they come out with 2 statements, because normally they just shut up their mouth. They never talk anything when Bharat was doing Varshni, a whole lot of nonsense. They never opened them out. At least they open them out now, but it is not wide enough.
So the conduct of a lot of folks are coming into sharp scrutiny. Sharp, and rightfully so. Rightfully so. A whole superintendent of police, sign off to this statement here. So I was there. When the young lady said, she know nothing but this. All that we see on social media. Well, yesterday, the president again, whose own conduct has come under scrutiny. Yesterday, he said that he spoke with Damlal. He said he has requested leave. He was not asked to proceed on leave. This sounds like Charinas all over again. Oh, Charinas, and I spoke, and I told him of the need for something, and he told me back something, and he said, oh, maybe I'm going off on leave, and he requested leave. Right? He said, you're proceeding on immediate leave. No. Damlal, in his own deliberate judgment, said, I can step back a little bit, let this investigation go forward. Right? But we don't know when, because the statement that was given out was silent on that. When does this leave takes effect? When does it take effect? When does the leave? He said, he asked me to, and I said, all right, good. Folks, look where we are in 2.5, 3 short years. It's a fascinating study in sociology. Governance and human behavior, perhaps. Fascinating. So we don't know when. They say, all right. He asked me if I want to go off. I say, all right, man, I can do a little thing. I can send you off. So that's what's happening on one front. That's yesterday, folks. I'm being made to understand, again, based on a missive I'm seeing on attributed to a news source, Gordon Mosley's news source, that Damlal has lawyered up, according to news source. And in this reporting, it says here that local government minister Nigel Damlal has hired the Hughes, Fields and Stobie law firm to look into his interests following allegations of sexual assault made against him by a 16-year-old girl. And according to the law firm Hughes, Fields and Stobie, it says here, the allegations of misconduct by Minister Nigel Damlal, which first surfaced on social media last week, now appear to have attracted the attention of the Ghana Police Force and the Child Care and Protection Agency. Mr. Damlal has retained the services of a firm of attorneys at law to represent him and protect his interests. It says here that Mr. Damlal remains willing and disposed to assist in a full investigation of the matter. All allegations are denied. In the interest of a fair investigation and the necessity to protect the interests of all parties concerned, we urge that speculations, wild accusations, and premature judgments and unsupported conclusions be avoided. Until further advised by his attorneys, no further statements will be issued be issued by or on behalf of Mr. Damlal. That is what the statement coming out of news source and coming out of the Hughes, Fields and Stobie law firm reads. Of course, again, we don't know if he's officially on leave or he's still on duty and will go on leave and sometime in the future again, because this is the murky waters. We're now in the opaque waters that we are now in concerning this particular issue. Very, 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 very murky waters. And some of what we're also picking up on social media. Melissa Atwell, better known as Melly Mel, she has been behind this story. She has been giving lots of information concerning some of the details that we know now, the alleged statement by the victim, and what has been some of what is transpiring behind the scenes. And some of this has been corroborated by other news sources as well. No pun there. For instance, we know that at the behest of the Child Protection Agency, we know that, for instance, there was a clinical interview we being made to understand was done. This was done by the Blossom Foundation in Region 2 yesterday. This was done by the Blossom Foundation in Region 2 yesterday. According to what Atwell is alleging on her Facebook profile, the victim expressed her disappointment in her parents. I tell you, they got a lot to answer for. The victim expressed disappointment in her parents and admitted that everything in her statement is the truth. That is what Melissa Atwell Melly Mel says came out of this clinical interview. Right? Was part of it, or perhaps separately. The child expressed disappointment. You can divorce your parents. You can divorce your parents. She expressed disappointment in her parents and admitted that everything in her statement is the truth. So remember the previous statement signed off by Kemrat Subaran. You have to have a whole COI after the Child Protection Agency finish what they're doing. Right? The Child Care and Protection Agency, after they're finished doing what they're doing, you're going to get a whole COI into the other circumstances. So you have the previous statement we alluded to, signed off by Superintendent of Police Kemrat Subaran, stating that all she said before was untruth. And then we got what we heard transpired yesterday evening, where she says, I'm disappointed in my parents. And everything I said in my original statement is the truth. We're being made to understand that some of what the Blossom Foundation folks heard was shocking to them. Right? That's some of what we're hearing. This other point was made by Dem Waves. I said there seem to be other news outlets corroborating what Melissa Atwell Melly Mel said on her page, because Dem Waves reporting on the fact that the child was taken into police custody, taken into protective custody by the welfare authority. This is the Child Care and Protection Agency. The Child Care and Protection Agency. Dem Waves in their reporting made the point. Dem Waves made the point that the statement originally made, not this Kemrat Subaran statement, her original statement was largely consistent. This is Dem Waves now reporting of this same Blossom Foundation clinical interview, that the child's statement was largely consistent with what she said originally, not this Kemrat Subaran Foundation statement. So Atwell said she admitted everything was true, and Dem Waves reporting, right, that the child said exactly that. In their words, in Dem Waves' words, her statement last night was largely consistent with her original statement, not the Kemrat Subaran Superintendent of Police statement. Right? That is the fact. Right? The child also explained how 10 million was paid. This is what we picked up on Melissa Atwell's page. The child also explained how the 10 million was paid in 2 parts, 5 million each time to her parents. Remember, we told you that there was money at the table in that meeting recently. There was money put on the table in that meeting over the weekend or whenever it was in the village with her parents, where they were picked up. Right? They were paid and they were given 5 million portions each. So after they see the Child Care and Protection Agency, this initial, what do you want to call it? Investigation, even gonna get a whole CYE. Because a lot of people got a lot to answer for in this whole process. You got to get a CYE on the whole thing. So folks, here is where we are at this hour. And as we have more information in our additional broadcasting, today you're going to have more information. There's a protest on in front of the Ministry of Local Government and Regional Development in Kingston at 12 o'clock. You guys feel strongly about this issue and this foolishness? Go out there, come out there, and show your support. You know, if you feel strongly, and I love what some of the folks have been saying, this ain't political. We must stand in defense of our women and girls, irrespective of the politics. Right? If it's happening to you party, you got to stand against it. If it's happening to me party, we got to stand against it. It's bigger than politics. Bigger than politics. Right is right and wrong is wrong. And this is just some of what we know at the hour, folks. It's just some of what we know at this hour. Help us to keep on doing what we're doing. Let me make sure I center up. Am I going in the right direction? Yeah. Help us to continue to do what we're doing at this end, folks, by partnering with us so that we can do more of these programs, bringing you guys valid and credible information. And here is how you can help in that regard, folks, just for your convenience. To help us to keep going, we're available via Cash App and Zelle and PayPal, MMG, MoneyGram, and Western Union as well, good folks. Valid, credible information. And we've been talking about some of what we know at the hour concerning the Darmalal scandal, the Darmalal rape scandal, damning allegations, folks. Here's how you can help us to continue to bring you stories like this and coverage like this as well. Another way you can help, share the live, folks. That's a free way you can help. Share the live. Smash that emoji button as well for us, good folks, so that other folks can get credible and valid information as well. And the other way you can help us, folks, is to partner with us so that we can keep moving forward. That's the other way you good folks can help us. Share the live, folks. Smash that emoji button, and this is one of the ways you can partner with us. And I've been telling folks at the end of the month, I'm celebrating another birthday. Happy birthdays are nice, but I want the program to keep going. That's my passion. It's about, we're entering our 3rd year. Am I right? Somewhere there. We're entering our 3rd year broadcasting valid, credible information, and we're totally funded by you, the people. That's how we keep moving forward. I chip in every now and again, you know how. But we're funded by you, the people, so we can bring you the unvarnished truth. And this is how you can help us. Valid, credible information. That's going to do it for our time at this end. We see you folks there. Continue to share the live. Smash that emoji button. That's going to do it for us at this end, folks. That's our time today, and that's our program. We'll catch you guys on the next broadcast. Stay safe out there. Good folks. Stay safe.